Hey lovely people, and welcome back to the channel. Sorry I've not released a video in a little while. These guys have been extremely hormonal. I have tried to film in the past, but they would not stop screaming. I want to film, so, you know, gotta respect the birds. I can't film something, I got away. Plus we also got a rescue macaw about a month ago now, and we've been really focusing on her. I'll do a video about her at some point, but right now we just want to get her comfortable with us. Anyway, today's video will be about hormones, something that all parrot owners struggle with, something that we are struggling with right now. So I'm hoping that maybe the information I give you will help you guys in the future or right now with your own birds, and maybe we can help each other as well, because a lot of you guys will be really knowledgeable and you can post stuff in the comments. Anyway, let's get into it. Okay, what are hormones? Well, a lot of bird owners will compare hormones to somebody going through puberty. I mean, we all get through it in the end. Usually we're the ones who have a few bruises and a few bites and a little bit of hurt feelings, because these guys, they don't hold back during hormones. When do hormones usually occur? Well, to be honest, they usually start around springtime because, you know, that's when the birds and the bees happen. Keep in mind that while our birds live inside our houses, there is a chance that they could experience hormonal behaviour at any point in the year. There are many owners that cover their birds' cages, and by covering their cages we are altering their natural cycle. Even just having the lights on in our house can alter their natural cycle. Although saying that, a lot of birds will get hormonal just during springtime because they'll see the sun rising and sun setting. One of our birds did show signs of hormonal behaviour over winter, so don't be surprised if it happens to you. On top of that, remember that every species will experience hormones at different times, so definitely research that. For cockatiels, they usually experience hormones between 1.5 years and 2 years old, and during this time they are insane. Whereas with macaws, you usually find that hormonal behaviour starts between 4 and 6 years of age. So basically, Paco got hormonal at about 1.5 years, which was pretty much bang on a dot when you'd expect it. And we expected Corliss to already be hormonal, but she wasn't for a while. And now that she's almost 6, it's just hit her and we're getting attacked constantly. Hormones also last for a different amount of time for every single bird. It's like every person is individual, same thing with these guys. So hormonal behaviour can last anywhere between a couple of days to a couple of weeks to a couple of months, even more sometimes. And just because your bird has been hormonal for a few days and then stops, doesn't mean the hormones are done. They can return. He is proof of this. Yes, he's not really this sweet all the time. Just for a little icing on the cake, after your bird is done with hormones, you can experience all of it again the year later. So that is always fun. Usually the very first year with hormones is the worst year, and then it will get better every single year after that, and then it'll slowly start to fizzle out after a while, and they'll learn to control it. So hormones can cause a lot of issues for our birds and for us. They're not trying to be horrible, they're being themselves, they're being birds. A lot of the behaviour that comes with hormones isn't acceptable in the regular house, and that's where issues begin. And just a random little fact in there for you guys, a lot of birds that are rehomed during hormonal time because the owners can't handle it and think their bird has just switched suddenly to the devil. It's not true, I can promise, I can vouch with these guys. They're back to themselves mainly. So during hormonal season, you may find that your bird behaves very differently to the bird that you know, and it can happen overnight. The bird that you once knew is now biting you, they're now lunging randomly. They're not wanting anything to do with you, they're not cuddly anymore, or they're extremely cuddly. Every bird is different because every bird is an individual. Yes, there are specific things that different species will do, but they're, you know, at the end of the day, every bird is different. So, like I said, some of the issues you can find is biting and lunging. You can also find that some birds will plug during hormones because it's just too much for them. Some of them get incredibly territorial and possessive. So you can't even get them out of the cage, you can't even move their toys around because they lunge for you instantly. You may even find that your female birds may start laying eggs, which can increase risks of egg binding, which is where the egg actually gets stuck inside of them and can lead to death if not treated. So how do you prevent hormonal behaviour? Well, there are a lot of things you can do before hormones even start to not encourage them at all. First things first, no fuzzy huts, no nothing they can hide into, no nesting boxes, no dark boxes, cardboard boxes, nothing. Out. Yes, you tell them. No nesting material, keep that away instantly, nothing soft and fluffy. On top of that, just to throw this in there, fuzzy huts are actually really dangerous for your bird, and if ingested, they can cause crop impaction, so be really careful if you use those. Another thing is stroking birds, right? I don't know how a lot of people don't realise this, because this was one of the very first things we learned, but don't touch them anywhere other than head and feet. Touching your bird on its back, under its wings, anywhere else is actually encouraging that hormonal behaviour, because that's exactly where mates will preen each other. So if you're suddenly preening your bird in all these sexual places, your bird will start thinking that you're its mate and actually become aggressive to you when you don't give out. Don't feed a high protein diet, just don't do it. So if you're feeding whole seed diet, not only is that bad for the bird's liver, but you're also extremely encouraging hormones. Honestly, you're preparing them for breeding season. You're loading them up with all that fat, all the good stuff that will help them in raising babies, and then going, oh, my bird is attacking me, why? Also, ensure your bird is getting 12 hours of sleep. I know this sounds ridiculous to people who don't already own birds, but they are honestly like toddlers. If you don't give them the 12 hours, they're going to go insane, and you're going to regret it the very next day. As I said earlier, birds respond to that natural cycle of the sun setting and sun rising earlier or later. So with that in mind, a bird that is getting less sleep, like they would do in the wild in spring, will naturally have a higher chance of getting hormonal. And even then, the 12 hours sleep is really good for their health. Just because I've given you guys a list of ways to prevent hormones doesn't mean it'll stop the behaviours. This is just going to stop them getting as bad. Birds will get hormonal yearly. It is just a thing that comes with the package of owning them. So you're not going to escape it, but they may just not show it as much, and that's exactly what you're wanting, because I can tell you now that birds that are aggressive and bitey towards you, it's really not fun, and it is a really stressful few months. Spotting a hormonal bird is actually fairly simple if you know what you're looking for. Male birds usually like to hump things, and yes, I mean that literally, they will go to town. Females, well, they walk around with their tail in the air and asking for it. If you spot your bird doing this, discourage immediately. Remove the male from wherever they're doing that from, or remove that specific toy to prevent it happening. And if the female's doing it, don't touch them on the back, ignore them entirely. You don't want to encourage that behaviour. More signs of a hormonal bird is just they're going to be a lot louder. They could be really clingy. They could be aggressive. They could be lunging randomly. They could be territorial. They could be looking for any spot to nest. They could also be really possessive. And I'm not sure about other species because I've not really looked into them, but a cockatiel's cheeks will actually bleed, like the colour will bleed out into the rest of their face a little bit. So for example, Paco's cheeks are actually a lot brighter than they usually are, and they're a lot bigger. This is what I mean about the bleeding. You may find that the red from the cheeks spreads a little bit across the face. Quite often that's what happens with males when they are hormonal. You've already done everything you can to prevent hormones, and yet your bird is still hormonal. What can you do? Actually, you'll be happy to know there are a lot of things that you can do to still help improve that behaviour. First of all, don't stop treating your bird the way you usually would. I know it's really difficult, but the second you go off that routine is the second that more issues start to arise. Also, try to not get bit because it hurts. Rearrange the cage. Rearranging their bedroom can actually really help prevent them from getting hormonal, because they have a whole new setup to now enjoy. And if you do that quite often, and I don't mean rearrange all the perches, I mean you can do that as well, but if you try to rearrange toys daily, then they're like, oh okay cool, look, new thing to play with, let's go to that one instead of getting flirty. Give your birds a lot less fat and protein in the diet. Now I know I said that to prevent hormones, but you can still do the exact same thing when they're hormonal. Increase their sleep. So as I said earlier, birds love to have their 12 hours sleep, but you know what, if your bird is hormonal, increase it up to like 14-15 hours. Now that may seem extreme, but you know what, it's worked amazingly with our guys, and it's really simmered down their hormones quite a bit as well, which has made them a lot easier to work with, and it means we can actually get through this together, and you can start to learn how to control it. Already mentioned this one, but no nests. Just literally don't give them nests. I don't know why people have this weird thing with, oh, I've got a bird, they need to have a place to sleep. Like, no. In the wild, they sleep on branches. Leave them with their perches. They don't need a nest. Another thing you can do is increase how much chamomile they're eating. Chamomile is a really fun little plant that helps calm birds and people, and actually other animals as well. I drink it quite a lot. These guys love drinking it. Literally just get yourself a bag of organic, untreated chamomile, dried, and put it into some hot water, strain it, and you've got chamomile tea. Completely bird safe. If you are making tea for your birds, don't use any tea that uses tea bags, because tea bags actually contain something on them. I can't remember what, but it is bad for your bird. So yeah, that's a big no-no. You can also increase training sessions to stimulate their minds. So during hormonal season, they obviously have a lot of energy, and I need to get that out somehow. And if they're just sat in a cage, or if they're just sat cuddling you, they don't get a chance to do that. So increase that stimulation by training. Get them to target train. Get them to recall. Really work with them to get all of that energy out. He just fell off my shoulder. Come on then. I promise it does help. Another thing you can do is also increase foraging. Instead of feeding your guys in a bowl, feed them in another manner. So if these guys, we have beach chips at the bottom of their cages right now, and I feed them on there. That is where they get their seed and their pellets. We don't give them their veggies on there because obviously that means I would have to clean that every single day, and that gets a little bit tiring. For the macaws, we actually feed them in foraging wheels, or we give them a nut in their foraging toy, or make it as fun as possible. Because they know their foraging toy now, we even wrap the nuts in newspaper, and we put newspaper in their foraging wheels to make it even harder, so they have to think more, so they're getting that energy out in another way. And because I said it a second ago, I thought I'd bring it up very quickly. Pellets are actually incredibly nutrient dense. This means that they have plenty of good nutrition in them, which is great, but they can also be great for raising babies. So when your bird is hormonal, reduce the amount of pellets you're feeding them. You can give them a bit more seed, but better yet, give them some more veggies. And that will help level out those hormones and make them less ready for making babies. Please do not clip your bird's wings for displaying natural behaviour. If we take on a bird, we have to deal with the behaviours that come with it. Don't try to modify your bird because they are displaying something that you don't like. Only time clipping is okay is when there's a medical issue. And if you don't understand what clipping is, why people do it, and you want to learn more about it, I've made a video that I will link below where a few other YouTubers and an avian vet discuss wing clipping, so that'll help you there. Oh, and one more thing before I forget. If your bird is laying eggs, increase their calcium instantly. So one thing that we learned from the rescue that we got Rita from, our blue and gold macaw, is that a lot of birds don't actually have enough calcium in them. And thanks to them, we've been giving our guys calcium once every 3 days roughly. But if your bird is hormonal, they need that extra calcium, because if they start laying eggs, they could become deficient, and then that causes strokes. And obviously that's a bad thing and not something you really want to happen to your dear feather friends. So take care of them. And lastly guys, don't worry, it's okay. Everybody's birds get hormonal. Everybody gets upset and frustrated during this time. I cried so many times because my guys have been attacking me for no reason. And you know what? That's totally okay. You're allowed to have hurt feelings. Just don't blame them for it. It is not their fault. It is just something that comes naturally, and it will pass, I promise you. I know that hormones happen yearly, and I know it is really disheartening, but it will be okay, I promise. That's all I have for this video. I hope you guys learned something. And if you know something that I didn't mention, please pop it in the comments so we can all learn together. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next video, whenever that is. Remember to hit the bell and subscribe, because I don't release quite a lot, as you can probably tell from when my last video was. But I will hopefully be releasing more over summer because we can finally get up free flying again, and I want to make some cool free flight vlogs. Anyway, see you guys later. Bye!